Welcome. My name is George Pearson and I run the How To Gurus channel here on YouTube. Most of the videos in my channel are short demonstrations of the different tools and techniques you'll find in various software programs. Right now I have several hundred of these quick videos available on YouTube. This video though is different. This is part of a new series of longer demonstrations that I'm doing to show you how to complete complex projects from start to finish using a variety of techniques and tools. All of the images I use in these projects are in the public domain, and I've included a link to the pictures in the video description in case you want to work along using the same images. Okay, let's move on to the project. In this special Photoshop Elements text project, we'll be doing this text on fire effect. Now this uses standard type, and then we'll be modifying the type, and we'll also be using some pictures in behind here. Let me just hide the text layer. That's that one right there. We're using some flame effects like this, and this is done with actual flame pictures in behind the text. Now on those you can use pictures like this. Here's one that I found online. There's another picture that I found online. These are easy to find. You want to find a picture that works well with the size of the type. I think this one here, the flame size, is about right. That's a little bit too small. So we'll be using this flame picture and then working with some regular type. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on this project. Let me just get these out of the way. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to select everything here and then edit, copy. What that does is it puts the information for the image, size, resolution, that kind of stuff onto the clipboard. We can then make a new file which matches this exactly. So let's just deselect that, get that out of the way. We'll hide that for now. And new blank file. There we go. See here, it already has preset up those settings with height and resolution, so it now matches that other file. And it's because I'm using the clipboard preset right there. Choose OK. There it is. Let's just zoom in a little bit on that, make it big enough here to actually see what we're doing. That's too much. Okay, that will work. So there's the file. Now we want to have the background in black, just so you can already see the flame effect. So using your paint bucket, make sure that your foreground color is at the default of black. Let's just double check right here. Color swatches, black. There we go. And fill, and that fills the area with black. We now can put our type in. Go to the type tool. Let's get this out of our way. On this I was using type Old English typeface, which is right there. Let me just scroll up so you can see a bit better. There it is. Just kind of a fancy Old English type. Other typefaces work well. This one, because of these kind of pointy sides and things, it has kind of a diagonal slant to it. Because of some of those aspects, it seems to work out well with the flame effect. It has almost, this almost has kind of a flame-ish feel to it already. It has kind of the complexity they have on flame, which is why I'm using this particular one. But you can use the exact same technique with any typeface. So okay, we're using the Old English text, MTU regular. If you don't have Old English text, simply do a search online for Old English font, and you'll find a million of these things there, everywhere. Okay, we then need to choose our size or our color. The size is 72 point. We'll adjust that once we have the text on the page. But for the color, we want kind of a medium orange color for our effects. Now we're using it kind of a light orange around the edges. So to start off with that, we're going to start kind of medium dark, maybe a brick kind of a color. Let me just pull this up here. This is the standard colors in here, and that's not too bad right there. This isn't too bad. These have kind of a burned look to them already. So I'll choose that one. Let's just get this out of the way. I didn't want to dock that. There we go. And for some reason it decided to change the typeface on me. That's okay. We can just switch that over again. You never can really trust these programs. They'll try to play games with you. There we go. Okay, so we have our basic coloration here, and then I'll just resize and reposition this. Have a good large size like that. As you can see here, there's a lot of detail on this typeface, kind of a swishy, swoopy thing, and that just helps the flame effect. It already has kind of that feel that flame has. Okay, now on this we want to bring in just some basic effects. We're going to be doing an inner glow on this one, and let's go up here to layer, and let me make sure I'm on my type layer. There we go. Always helps to be on the right layer. Layer, style settings, and we want a glow, inner glow. Now over here, kind of medium orange is pretty good. This is a bit too bright, so let me just bring this down to a nice medium orange, kind of like that. And I'm going to bring this up pretty far, up in here someplace, so you can really see that glow effect happening in there. That's part of this process. So already it's beginning to look like it might be made out of, you know, the same kind of values that you have in flame. That's what we're trying to emulate there. Alright, that's step one. Pretty straightforward. Step two, let's take this and make a copy of this layer. I always make copies of my layers before I begin to do any major work on them, just so that in case I mess up I can always go back to my original. So that's my safety layer down there. On this copied layer, we want to simplify this layer. Right click where the name is and choose simplify. It's also called rasterizing over in Photoshop, in case you're curious. Now we need to distort the lettering and give it kind of a flamey look, and we'll use the smudge tool for that. Now my tool is too small here. You can change your brush size. There's the brush, there's the size right there. Let's see if we can see what that says. 8 pixels. Yeah, that's real small. Let me just pull that up. That's pretty good. You can see the size of that brush there now. I don't want to go too large. And on this we're going to be just distorting the edges by going over the edges like that. It's kind of a zigzag thing here with this smudge tool. Not so much that we're making it so you can't read the lettering, but just coming in and kind of smearing it up a little bit. So just little pushes and shoves to give this kind of a wavy effect. And again, that tends to impersonate the wavy style that you have in actual flame. So just kind of just little taps and little pulls up and down just to mess up the edges and distort them a little bit. If you kind of think of what you would see on an image if you're looking through a heat source and the air is kind of wavering, that's kind of the idea that we're going for here. And just a little bit in there. And just work down the whole, all the letters to give it this kind of a wavy effect. We can always come back and modify this if we want to later on, if we're not quite happy with that. Since everything else is going to be on separate layers, so this will be protected, giving us that option to come back in and adjust. And something else, whenever you're working inside of Photoshop Elements, try working on multiple layers, and that gives you that ability to actually come in and make those kinds of changes. Alright, so that gives us the kind of a basic fiery, warped look in here. Now we're ready for our actual fire picture. And let's bring that up. There it is. I'm just going to grab this and drag it over on top like that. So that's inside the picture. Notice it's already about the right size for this image. Make it just a little bit larger here, not too much, so it's about the full width of the picture. Now we're going to be using this a couple or 3 times. If I bring the opacity down here, you can kind of see where that's just sitting in there. we're going to be using it on top of the letters themselves and in behind for flame coming out of the top area. We'll be using several copies of this to give us that kind of flamed look. Let's first work on the flames inside of the letters themselves. So I'll bring this up again. Now I want just part of this flame effect, and before I do that I'm going to make a copy of this because we're going to be doing multiple copies of this layer, so I'm just going to copy that layer up there. And this will be my safety layer, so I'll hide that just to make sure I don't mess up. I'll type that one safety layer so I know that's my original to work from. Okay, now I want to take just part of this flame and we'll stick it in behind our lettering, and obviously we want to get rid of the black that's around here. Now because of this, we can come in and use the delete key and a selection to remove that background. Now, so I click in here, it's give me some background selection, but it's not a whole lot. You can control how much is selected by adjusting your tolerance down here. 0 is real low. Let's bring this up to about 20 or so. Let me try it up here now. Okay, that's better. You can see how that now is selecting most of that black. About 20, that's fine. 21, maybe a little bit higher. 27. There we go. Most of the black, leaving everything else. So I hit the delete key, and let's come down here, get the bottom part and the delete key. So there is some basic flames here. On the wrong layer. Let me go back up there. There we go. There's some basic flames just on top of our layers. Now I want to, again, do a few copies of this. This is kind of my clean layer now. So I'm going to make a copy of this one again. There we go. I'll hide that one. We'll come back to that. Now I want to come in and we're going to be putting this on top of the flames and want to erase the parts that aren't on top of letters. Not real accurate. You don't have to be real perfect about this. We just kind of get rid of the parts that are not on top of the letters. So let's grab our eraser. Let's check our size. It's maybe a bit too large on the eraser size. Let me bring that down a bit. That's pretty good. That'll work. And I'm just going to come in here and just erase out some of this stuff that's not right on the lettering. Everything is in between. If you can't quite see what you're doing, you can bring the opacity down a little bit, which will let you see the layers through, or the lettering through, and that'll make it easier then to come in and clean that out. The stuff up there, I'm going to leave that up there. I think that's okay. And just take out some of that information out of there. Okay, that's one. Let's now lock that layer so that's protected. There we go. Let's come back to our main copy here. I'll make a copy of this. There it is. And let's hide that one again. Okay, on this I want to flip this layer so we have some variation on that. So let's go up to Image, Rotate, and let's flip layer horizontally. That's back and forth, left to right. I'll pull this one down a little bit, down here somewhere, and then we can hide that other layer in behind. Let's bring our opacity down again so we can see what we're doing. Same thing. I'm going to come through and erase the parts that we don't want, the parts that are not over the letters. Again, don't worry about if you're off a little bit on the edges. That's fine. A little bit coming out is okay. We want some of that. We just want to have just some nice separation between the letters and the dark areas of the letters so that we can still see the lettering. And you see what's happening is we're putting the flame look right on top of the letters. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's hide that one. I'm actually going to lock that layer as well. Let's just lock that. And then back to our original. Let's copy this layer again. I'll leave it in the same direction. And let me hide that. There we go. Back to our Move tool. Let's bring that down towards the bottom now. And I'm just going to squeeze this in a little bit so it's a little different positioning. It's pretty good. Same thing again. Bring the opacity down so you can see where the lettering is, and bring our eraser tool in. On this case, I want to erase mostly what's on the bottom. You know, a little bit above is okay. Mostly I want to just get the bottom area cleaned out down in here. So this is giving us, in this case, 3 layers. But what I'm doing is I'm putting flame looks on top of all of our letters. And just clean out some of that and that, keep the letters clean. Okay, we can now show those layers again. And you can see what's happened now. We have this flame look on top of all of the letters. Let's go up here to unlock these. And on that one, I'm just going to come in here and just a little bit of tweaking on some of those. Okay, so there's our flame effect. Now, let's select all 3 layers. Hold the Shift key down, clicking your top and your bottom of those 3 that we've modified. Let's merge these layers together. They no longer need to be in separate layers, so let's right-click, and we're going to merge at the bottom down there, merge those into one layer. And now we're going to come in and put these layers into, blend them into our image. Now use that with our blending modes over here. I'm just going to use the mouse key here, or the mouse wheel, and I'll roll down. And notice as I roll down, these blend into the lettering in different ways. So there's a screen, color dodge, linear dodge. So all of these give us different effects on putting this flame look inside of our letters. Some are kind of weird, some don't work at all, some are just bizarre. One that we want this time though is screen, right there. And that blends the lettering into, you know, the flames into the letters. You can see it right there. It gives us that kind of a nice lettering on fire look. And the last thing we want to have is our flames in behind across the top of the letters, as if the top letters are on fire. So this gives us our main fire look. So that's all fine. Let's now do the top of the letters, and that is actually back to this layer again, our original layer. We can, oh, didn't want to move that. Let's just undo that, and I'll lock that layer again. It's always useful to lock these layers so you're not accidentally moving them around like I just did there. Okay, this will be the tops of our letters. I'll put it right about here. I'm going to squeeze this in a bit so it's about the right height or the right size for the tops. Just like that. I want this now in behind the lettering. So let's take this layer, drag it down behind our letters. So you can see letters there in behind, and then we can readjust a bit. And then same thing, we'll be erasing out the parts that we don't want and leaving everything else okay. And let's just double check that's fine. Okay, back to our eraser tool. And just erase out the stuff in there that's over the lettering beneath the top. Everything above the tops of the letters, we want to leave that in, because these are the flames coming off the letters themselves. And there we go. There is that lettering on fire effect. And as you can see, pretty straightforward actually once you know the steps to go through. Let's just repeat those again. Just a little refresher course in here. So you do the typeface and the inner glow. So the typeface is a dark orange, inner glow is a light orange, giving you the basic coloration. Copy that layer out and simplify the layer so it's no longer text. And using the smudge tool, smudge up the edges. And then using a flame picture like we have here, create 2 sets of flames. It may take several steps like we did, but you want to have one set of flames which is overlapping and on top of your lettering like that. That gives the lettering looking as if they're on fire. And then a second set of flames in behind, which is your flame on top of your letters up there. Okay, and there we go. That is the lettering on fire technique. Alright, now as I always like to do on these videos, let's go ahead and take this a step further if you want to. Kind of an extra credit a little bit. I'm going to take the fire text here and make a copy of that. There's our new fire text. You can see right there that's brightened up a little bit by making that copy. If we take this, move this to the top of our stack, that puts it in front of everything else, so the fire is now in front. Let's brighten up the edges of this one. Layer style again. Unlock. Let me just unlock that. There we go. Okay, layer style settings. Let's change the edge color here to a much brighter color. There it is. And again, this is sitting on top of everything else now. We want to blend this back in again. Again, using our blending modes over here. Let me just show you how that works. I'll just roll down, and you'll see as I roll in that these blend in different ways, giving you different effects. Some come out to be a lot brighter like that, and some will blend in a lot further, and some of course obviously are kind of strange colorations. Overlay works out pretty well for us, and then we'll control the amount of that with the opacity here. Pull that back a bit. And you can see what has happened. Even with the opacity brought way down, what this is doing is it's really brightening up our image in here, giving us a much brighter flame effect as I pull this image up. So there it is, clear to the top, and bring it back down again. So if you want your lettering to stand out further, this is the approach that you want to use on that. Okay, so again, there is the text on fire effect. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this training video.